You are in the Warriors Huddle with me, Bram. No Maxime or Marcus today, but I'm fired up to announce that rejoining you after way too long, the former writer for the Las Vegas Review Journal, where we covered the Raiders, the Aces, the Golden Knights, and combat sports. The Golden State beat writer for the San Francisco Chronicle attends every single practice, press conference, shoot around, and game. And a guy whose insights on the Warriors are so damn dynamite, I've been stealing them in normal conversation recently. Mr. Sam Gordon. What's going on, Sam?
Man, what's up, Bram? It's a pleasure to join you today. Happy to be back. How's everything going?
Oh, angsty. I'm hella angsty. Last night kicked my ass, man. But before we even get into like my neurosis, let me prove to you that what I said is true. So today, come into the office. I've got coworkers here who are also Warrior fans, and one of them fires off the officiating. The officiating last night was so fucking terrible, which I agree with, to be quite frank. But I wanted to seem smarter. So instead of just agreeing with them, I dropped did the officials allow a 10-0 run over the last 2.5 minutes to give up a 6-point lead? And I walked away feeling kind of superior, and I owe that to you, Sam. So great article. Appreciate all the work you do, man. You're helping me on a daily basis here.
Well, I appreciate you, Bram. Glad I could help. Thank you.
Keep them coming. No, I mean, keep them coming because these guys are going to realize pretty quickly that I don't really have shit of my own. So yeah, just articles on a daily basis will help out. Let's talk some Warriors, man. So
Yeah.
we'll start with our glass half full. You'll recognize this segment. So when we look back, recent Warriors hoop, give me something you like or don't. I'll get us started just to kind of get the ball rolling here. And I'll start optimistic because I feel like we need it. We're a 5-game losing streak. We need to at least identify a couple of positive things. So here's the first thing I like. I like assertive and decisive JK.
Yeah.
Last night was filled with a ton of things that were frustrating, but at least in that first half, JK seemed like he knew exactly what he wanted to do. He didn't delay. He wasn't taking bad mid-range jump shots. He wasn't forcing issues. He was either going immediately to the rim or passing the ball around, and led to some decision or some difference making on his end in that first half, man. So I am desperate for JK to really get going here, and we saw a little glimpse of it. So something I like.
Couldn't agree with you more. I thought that first half was one of the best halves he's ever played. And to your point, we know Jonathan Kuminga can score the ball, right? When the touches are there, when the volume is there, when the shot opportunities are there, he can go get you 20, 25 points a game. Hasn't happened quite as consistently this year, given the role that he's been in, right? Coming off the bench. But absence of Draymond Green puts him at the 4 spot. That's where he thrives, right?
Yep.
Because the spacing works to his benefit. There's not two players in the front court that don't demand closeouts on their 3-point shots. So there's more space for him to work. And I thought, to your point, right? The scoring is what it is, but the advanced passing, the connective passing, moving the ball. He had a pass to Trace Jackson Davis underneath the basket.
Yeah.
Trace ended up getting fouled, but that was a kind of quick read where he's not passing the ball because his driving lane is shut off or because there's nothing available at the rim or because the defense is keyed on him. He's creating a shot opportunity for somebody with quick decision making by taking advantage of the way that the ball was rotating. So that's definitely something I think to be optimistic about. How about another glass half full for you? Through 20 games, right? 4 through the season, Warriors are a top 5 defensive team. That's held true. That is held true. The Warriors wanted to set out in the offseason to improve their defense, and so far, right? And that number, that defensive rating has fluctuated a little bit. It's not what it was earlier in the season, but the Warriors have given themselves this 5-game losing streak. These haven't been blowouts.
Yeah.
They've been competitive games. The Phoenix game might have got away from them for a little bit, but they've been competing with teams despite their late game inconsistencies, despite the stagnant stretches that they get offensively sometimes when the second unit is out there. Top 5 defense all season. I believe they're 4th in defensive rating right now. So that's something to hang your head on at this stage, given all the ups and downs and where things are at. Top 5 defense.
It's necessary. Yeah. And you hit, I think, maybe the biggest or overarching glass half full, at least in the last 5 games, right? This 5-game losing streak, which is frustrating as hell. But they could have won 4 of those 5. If you look back at the Phoenix one, they lost. But the Brooklyn game should have won. The San Antonio game should have won. OKC, we're right in the middle of it. Last night, up 6. So there's an alternate universe here where they play the exact same way, and they've actually won fucking 4 or 5 as opposed to losing the 5. I mean, they did lose, but there's the glass half full. I'll add to the defensive thing. You know what I like, man? Slow-mo's defensive length. Like
Yeah.
there's all of these times where he gets beat on the dribble, or it feels like it. And I'm frustrated. Like, oh, he's so slow. Like, why is he going? And then he uses that length to poke it out from behind, and he gets a steal. And so I've come to really like his versatility, man. I'm on board for the Kyle Anderson experience.
Yeah, there's so many, the stats are never going to wow you, right? They're just not. He's not a statistically dominant player, but what he is a guy that can handle the ball. He can play off the ball. He can make plays from the post. He can initiate actions from the top of the key. When he has the right matchup offensively, he won't hesitate to attack that matchup. And then you just touched on, I think one of the biggest thing that makes him unique is just his overall defense. Be able to bang with centers sometimes. You guard bigger wings, stick with guards, size, length, savvy. His versatility, so far, right? Only been 15, 16, 17 minutes a game, but those are generally pretty impactful minutes when he's out there. And, there's a scenario you could see that, an uptick in playing time for him in small ball center lineups. That rotation consolidates a little bit. They need his ball handling. So many things he does well, even though the statistics don't necessarily wow you.
And he's one of those guys you don't expect anything out of. If you're the opposing fan, you're like, oh, okay, the lost minutes. He comes out and you think like we're good now. And then when he succeeds, it almost destroys your confidence. I played on an intramural team forever, and we had this guy who was like crazy overweight. I mean, like fucking 400 pounds overweight. And whenever he'd come on, everyone just assumed he was dog shit, and he had a great jumper. And when he would beat the opposing team or would score, the impact on their confidence was so humongous. Like you could watch them get emotionally defeated. Slow-mo reminds me of that guy. He comes on and has like those decisively unathletic drives to the basket, things that you decide like there's no way he's going to succeed, and he does nonetheless. And I would imagine it takes away the confidence from opposing fans. All right, got to do some don'ts. I mean, shit, man, 5-game losing streak. So here's my first regression of Buddy Hield. So looked at this. Buddy went for 20 or more in 6 of the first 7 games, and then has not scored 20 points again since November 14th against the Wiz, which is a stretch of 13 games.
Yeah.
It so concerns me. And then the other thing that's really bothering me, the biggest don't like, the inevitability of last night's loss. The Warriors go up, I think 6, just like you pointed out in your article. And then the second Denver started coming back, Sam, the second it started happening internally, I was like, fuck, we're going to lose. It felt like standing and watching a car driving right at me. I couldn't get out of the way, and it just hits me and runs right over it. And that feeling reminds me of last season when we'd get into these close games and then I'd lose confidence. So I still believe in the team, and we're going to explore that. But if we're, listing things we don't like, last night's loss and knowing it was coming was frustrating, man.
Yeah, I mean, totally understandable. And situationally, right, a lot of these losses have happened the exact same way. They've happened with inefficient offense and defense kind of hitting them at the exact same time down the stretch in the fourth quarters. You go to over the course of the 5-game losing streak, in the fourth quarters, the Warriors have a net rating of minus 28.5. It's the worst in the NBA. They have been the worst fourth quarter team in the NBA throughout the course of this 5-game losing streak. I think in clutch net rating, they're 25th or 26th clutch defined by the NBA as games played within 5 points in the final 5 minutes. So they're again struggling in crunch time. It's the same. It's the same. It's the same thing, right? It's too much Steph Curry or bust in late game situations, and defenses until the Warriors start beating really aggressive defensive schemes skewed to either force Curry to take really difficult shots or to get the ball out of his hands completely. Until the Warriors start executing down the stretch, that's the problem. They're not scoring when they need to late. There's not enough shot creation at the end of the games outside of Steph Curry. Yeah. And time again, as a result, this is what's happening. So you hear the Warriors talk a lot about offensive execution. Sounds a little cliche, but there's merit to that. Playing through 24-second possessions, getting through first and second and third actions, breaking really, really tough defenses down the stretch, even when you might only have one ball handler that's going to break down the defense all the way. These are the margins that the Warriors have to work within. They don't have – this isn't the 2017 team. Right? This isn't the 2018 team. These are the margins that they have to work with the way the roster is constructed. So until until anything changes, late game offense is going to be something that they're going to have to get straightened out.
Give me an overarching take. So I got some golden questions here, and we'll talk about a possible trade, those kind of things. But quarter of the way through the season, and we've seen kind of both sides. We saw an incredibly hot start, and now we're seeing the other side to the coin. No team doesn't have flaws. So the fact that we're starting to see flaws now doesn't mean they don't have a shot. It just means it's not going to be an undefeated fucking season. So a quarter of the way in, how are you feeling about these guys, man? Are you what was more real, that 10-2 start or this last 0-5 stretch?
Oh, great question. I think probably somewhere in the middle, not to cop out or anything, right? As we talked about, the defense is real.
Yeah.
This has been a sustained stretch of top five defense. The depth, I think, of course, is a big part of that. Now they played 10 guys last night. Maybe schematically things look a little different. Not as much aggressive trapping out on the wings with ball screens and whatnot, because that takes a lot of energy. And if you consolidate the rotation a little bit, might have to change some things schematically. Nonetheless, I thought the Warriors defended really well last night against the Nuggets for the most part. Nikola Jokic is going to do Nikola Jokic things. The onus on the Warriors is to respond down the stretch late game when they have to. That obviously didn't happen, but the defense is solid. When the Warriors are executing offensively, when the ball is moving, things look great. And then situationally late in games, of course, time and time again that they struggled. So no reason to necessarily. I mean, the Warriors certainly aren't panicking by any means. I would say that there's a sense of urgency. Okay. Urgency and panic are different. You want to snap the 5-game losing streak at the same time. It's a veteran ball club where the head coach has coached Steph Curry and Draymond Green to 4 NBA championships. They understand the pace of a 100-game season. Andrew Wiggins knows what a 100-game season is like. Gary Payton II, Kevon Looney, so on and so forth. Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga were on that bench when the Warriors won the championship in 21-22. So I think for this particular team, given the age of Curry and Green, Curry 36, Green 34, we see the ailments that they're battling. Yep. Curry with bilateral knee pain, tendonitis, Green with some calf soreness. The wins and losses are going to be what they are. What the big picture, what the Warriors are trying to do, what they want to do is be in the mix, make the playoffs, stay healthy, and then go from there. Because with the veterans they have, with the experience they have, situationally, there's going to be a confidence in a 7-game series. The key is managing your way there and seeing if you can get enough improvement from the young players, structurally, strategically, offensively, to make something happen late in the season. So no sense of panic from the Warriors, and they're very much this 5-game skid notwithstanding, very much right in the thick of what's a really, really congested Western Conference.
Yeah. Quick follow-up on Joker, and then I got a question about the vibe. But last night I couldn't decide, just like anybody. I had no idea what the hell they should be doing with him. When they didn't double Joker, I got all upset. He's going to torch him. He's going to hit him. And then he did, and he scored on him. And then when they did double him, Joker would find the sprinter and find the cutter and got an easy basket either way. And it just illustrated what we already knew heading into it, why he's won 3 MVPs, why he might be speeding towards a 4th. That guy is pretty fucking good at basketball. But back to the Warriors. All right. And so you kind of touched on this, but this goes to our golden questions. Questions, you'll remember, Sam. This is our mailbag. People write in, give us questions about the Warriors. Sometimes they get personal. Always deal with Golden State. And the first one was, what's the vibe around the team? And I expanded a little bit, all right, because it's not just a 5-game losing streak. We've talked about it. 5 emotional losses. So they were up 17 and 18 against Brooklyn and San Antonio, and then had real shots against great teams and threw them both away with the Denver and the OKC loss. And I can tell you from the fan base, the vibe is angsty. People are upset. You turn on sports radio, you're going to hear a lot of callers being very angry at Kerr and the rotations and all these other things. And I'll share with you, as long as you promise not to tell anybody else, I was super angsty last night. So my wife is on a business trip today. She took a flight out. And what that normally means as a married man, the night before, I'm not going to see her for a little while, try to be extra sweet, get like my flowers, like do what I can to show her, oh, we'll miss you and I love you and all these things. So last night, Eric is my wife's name. She's packing in the back. I'm watching this game. They throw it away. I come back. I'm super pissy. We're watching some show. I think it was The Walking Dead, and it had a bunch of French scenes. This one, they happen to be in France, and so there's subtitles. And my wife asks me to read her the subtitles because she's packing, Sam. She can't pay attention. It's the exact scenario that I want, that I can show her, like, oh, look, I'm a great spouse. I'm helping the night before. I refused. I refused. I was like, no, I paused it because I was too fucking pissy about the Denver loss. And like, that's the angst I'm bringing. All right. And so I thought maybe it's just a fan based thing. I'm sure the team isn't upset too. But then I saw this quote from Steve Kerr about Brandon Pajemski. So I'm going to play it for you. He seemed to be, I mean, justifiably upset, but upset. And what my ultimate question is what's the vibe? How frustrated are these guys? First, let me play the quote.
Yeah.
When we're up 12 in the late second quarter, that was frankly insane. 5-on-4. You just keep hitting singles, throw the ball to the open guy. He had the same play last week against Brooklyn where he tried to throw a lob over his shoulder. He cannot be that guy, and he can't foul jump shooters. I love Brandon, a hell of a player. He's got a hell of a future ahead of him. But I hope he watches this clip right now, me talking, because he needs to hear it. He's got to be a smart, tough, great decision maker, and he's very capable of it, but that's his next step.
All right. So what stuck out to me about that? I mean, it's Kerr coaching, and one-handed turnovers are terrible, and fouling jump shooters, terrible. So the message he's giving is good, but giving it through the media while pounding on the desk suggests to me he might be a little frustrated. But you were there, man. You're with the team, So I heard you, urgency, not panic. But is there frustration here? Do they realize this is just part of the show? I mean, like, what's your perception on this?
All the above. I mean, they want to win. You win 12 of your first 15 games. You're one of the top teams in the NBA. You lose 5 games in a row, blowing double-figure leads in the second halves. Like, yeah, there's definitely frustration. But again, it hasn't yet spilled over into panic because of what we talked about. These games have been close.
Yeah.
They're not way far off, right? A possession here, possession there. Now, obviously, you have to fix the thread of why these possessions, why these late games are, situations are problematic. And I think that's what Kerr was getting at, right? With Pajemski. And first off, I don't think he would have addressed Pajemski that way unless he thought that he could handle it and
Sure.
needed it, right? Like he has a relationship with Brandon Pajemski, understand, has a sense, I'm sure, of what motivates him, of what buttons need to be pressed. And he felt obviously like this was the time to go to that because of how crucial Pajemski's role has now become with Steph Curry's tendonitis, especially with no DeAnthony Melton. He is the second ball handler on this team, right? He is the de facto, he's a point guard of sorts. When he plays next to Curry, he can push him off the ball. He can absorb reps on the ball. We see what he brings with his pace, with his passing,
Sure.
with his movement, all those things. We saw him last season, and we've seen him in bunches the last couple of games. His offense is coming around. He's finding his offense a little bit. He's finding his confidence on that end of the floor. Situational basketball. Situational basketball is why the Warriors have been losing these games, right? And what Kerr was pointing out with Pajemski was situational mistakes. You have a 10-point lead in the second quarter. You don't need to try an alley-oop pass when maybe just working the ball around the horn on a 5-4 leads to a layup or a 3, you go up 13.
Yeah.
Instead, Jokic gets an easy basket. That starts a 17-7 run, tie game, right? We know, it's a cardinal sin in basketball to foul jump shooters. Pajemski knows that. Kerr knows that. So all these things situationally, he was an example. He was a reflection last night of the situational miscues that have been plaguing the Warriors all season, right? So that's what I want to say about that.
Sure.
To go back to the original question, frustration, urgency, but at the same time, there's still a belief within this group, that this is a group that likes each other, that gets along. There hasn't been any chemistry issues that I've perceived in terms of being in the locker room and being around the team, and whatnot. So just as soon as they started this 5-game losing streak, there's a belief that they can snap out of it too because of what they've showed. They beat the Boston Celtics in Boston. They beat the Oklahoma City Thunder in Oklahoma City. There have been some key wins. They beat the Rockets in Houston, who are excellent, by the way, with their defense and Ime Udoka and those wings and whatnot. They beat the Rockets in Houston without Steph Curry and without DeAnthony Melton. So, they've showed with the group that they've had that has struggled at times throughout the course of the season that, hey, when they're executing, when that ball is popping, when it's moving around, that they can still beat really good teams.
Yeah.
So no panic, but definitely urgency, definitely a sense of, hey, this needs to get figured out soon, because the West is again, seeding isn't the end all be all, but the West is tough. And you take a look at that upcoming schedule, 3 games in 4 days. You got the Rockets, the Timberwolves twice who are figuring things out. The Rockets again next week, NBA Cup play. So it's a tough schedule. The Warriors are feeling the brunt of it, and they're doing everything they can to try and slog through this and get it figured out.
Do you stay above this? So we've had I've talked to a number of beat writers. 90% of them have told me, look, it's a job. I stay above it. There's no emotional involvement. I care, like I'm writing, I'm watching, I care about basketball, but I don't get upset or frustrated, and then 10% will tell me, yeah, shit. Yeah, of course I do. I'm there, and I'm covering these guys. I'm involved with them. Where do you fit in this split, man? Like, does it 5-game streak? Is this frustrating you, or no, it's just it's what's happening and you're chronicling it?
Yeah, it's what's happening, and I'm chronicling it, right? Of course, I like anybody else, regardless of who's executing it. I enjoy watching great basketball. So whether it's the Warriors executing great basketball, whether it's the Memphis Grizzlies or the Utah Jazz or the Portland Trailblazers, right? I enjoy high level, well executed basketball.
Yeah.
Great plays, all the reasons we love the game. But this is just part of it. This is an 82 game season. The Warriors are a fourth of the way through it. They've had their ups, they've had their downs, and I'm excited to see how they respond. I mean, every game that this losing streak continues, the next one gives them an opportunity to snap it and to respond, and probably builds a little bit of pressure because you don't want this thing to continue to roll. So really excited to see how they respond. But the 5-game losing streak hasn't affected me at all.
I'm going to play this clip and play it for myself occasionally just to calm me down. So last night, he missed the free throw, but I think it was Pajemski who fouled Michael Porter Jr. on the 3-pointer, and he hits it, and it's about to be a 4-point play, and then MPJ misses the free throw. But before he took it, Sam, I'm watching that happens. I pause it and just sat on my couch with my eyes closed for like 30 seconds, just super upset for no reason, helping nobody, and then I go back and fuck up my marriage, which was great, with the whole subtitles thing. Okay. This has nothing to do with the Warriors, but I don't get to talk to anybody who knows shit about combat sports. The Jake Paul Tyson fight. Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Was Tyson old, or did he throw the fight? You watch combat sports in a way different than me. And I couldn't stand it, so what was your interpretation? What happened?
Tyson was done 20 years ago. He was done he was losing to journeyman heavyweights 20 years ago, right? When he wasn't 58, 59 years old, whatever he is. So I can appreciate, in some sense, the spectacle and the way it galvanized everybody, right? I'm all for boxing being more and more in the mainstream. So really good undercard fights. I'm glad that those got a big platform and showcase. But the main event went how I expected it to. I actually expected Mike to get knocked out.
Yeah.
So there's a bit of a relief that we didn't see a guy in his late 50s get hurt. But Jake Paul, it felt like to me could have got him out of there kind of whenever he wanted, and elected not to because he didn't want to hurt a man in his late 50s that really had no business being in the boxing ring. But it was a huge spectacle, and Mike made his. I think the reports were 20 million.
Yeah.
Make your money, Mike.
Yeah,
make your money. I'm not holding that against him, right? Even though I didn't like seeing him walk down that runway.
I couldn't stand it.
It hurt, right? But make your money. He's got to do what he's got to do, and I'm not holding it against him.
He was watching a childhood hero get his ass kicked. It's like watching Optimus Prime get his ass beat by fucking Jake Paul. It's just, I don't want to watch. I don't need to stay away from my fucking legends, man. Like, go fight somebody else. But I think you're right. All right. Last 2 golden questions. 1, update on Draymond. So he misses his first game yesterday, and has been having this, really successful season. It started out what I assumed to be load management. They said, left calf soreness, it's not much. And then Draymond came out in his podcast and said he's a little worried, that he trusts the staff, that he'll be okay, but that he's a little worried about this. And it reminds him of previous injuries that he's had. Any updates? Do we know what's going on with Dre?
Not entirely yet. Kerr said it's day to day, and this is, from the sense I'm getting right now, pretty touch and go. But calves are tricky, and the thing to remember here, right, and to go back to kind of what we were talking about earlier, Draymond's 34, going to be 35, playing high leverage physical minutes, guarding centers, guarding big wings, switching out on the perimeter. physical. We know how he plays, right? Everybody knows how he plays. It's full force, and if there's anything you got that planning any kind of doubt whether you could go full force,
Sure.
probably the right thing to do to be cautious. And I want to repeat, 82 game season. Okay, these are guys that have this organization, the faces of the organization, understand 100-game season, understand playoff basketball, understand all those things. Getting there and getting there healthy is the paramount priority, right? Yep. So if it costs Draymond Green some regular season games, if it costs Steph Curry some minutes in a close game, right, which it has, those are the casualties of managing 36, soon to be 37-year-old guard. Sure. And a 34, soon to be 35-year-old bruising forward that have played a lot of 100-game seasons, a lot of high leverage basketball. So, it's definitely it's concerning, but not entirely surprising given the age of Draymond Green, given where he's at this stage of his career, and given how the Warriors want to manage these things. So, I don't think it's the end all be all, but Draymond said it himself. There's a little bit of concern, and that has reverberated and I think reflected organizationally, which is why they're handling this with so much caution at this juncture in the season.
Do you know what happened with the MRI? I know you're supposed to get one today. Did they announce anything?
Nothing yet.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Final question. Maybe the most important, certainly the one that's being talked about by Warrior fans everywhere. Do they need a trade? Right. And so turn on the game right now, turn on any podcast, you'll hear that's what they're going to be talking about. And so instead of giving you possible trades, I'm going to present it kind of an overarching question. One of three options, Sam. All right. Option number one, they need a trade tonight, right now. All right. Option number two, they do not need a trade. They're totally fine. Just let them play. Finally, option number three, too early. Who knows? We need some time. And to kind of back the three possibilities. Option number one, right? They need a trade. Fuck, 5-game losing streak. They can't score. They're minus 28 in the fourth quarter of these last 5 games. They need a change. Or other side, they don't need a trade. Despite that, they could have won 4 of those 5. They're still top 5 in defense. It's early, let this play out. And then finally, to justify the last one, it's only a quarter of the way through the season. These swings happen, give them some time. So if it was up to you, if Mike Dunleavy gave you a call, it's like, which track should I go here? What would you recommend?
Third track for sure. Right. And look, let's be clear. We've seen how these games play out. The Warriors are short on shot creation late in games.
Oh, yeah.
They are short on shot creation. So there is in order to improve this team and maximize its potential, they are going to have to develop shot creation or acquire it somehow. I just think it's too early to kind of know what's available, what might be out there, and procedurally, in terms of them executing a trade. These things take time, right? The trade deadline is not until February. There's still a moratorium on the trading of DeAnthony Melton's contract, which surely he'd be a part of any prospective trade as a 1-year deal, almost $13 million. So that could piece together nicely with some other expiring contracts that the Warriors have, future draft capital, other players, so on and so forth. I just think it's a little too early. It takes 2 to tango. So you got to see who might become available, who might be an ideal fit with the Warriors, and then it's about actually finding and executing the trade. Does anybody want to help the Warriors? Do the Warriors have pieces that appeal to other teams? Sure. All those things go into kind of figuring out what needs to happen, if any transaction needs to happen. But it's clear that they could use another shot creator, somebody to detract defensive attention from Stephen Curry late in games. I think. Again, don't want to belabor it, but Jonathan Kuminga showed some flashes, right?
Right.
Things clicked. Things are clicking for him, especially when he's at that 4 spot. We saw that last night. Let's see how these reps continue to develop. I'm not necessarily saying we've seen enough for the Warriors feel confident in the fourth quarter that he can also go get a bucket whenever they need him to. But there's going to be more and more situations like this, and more reps for him to gain, and more situations for the Warriors. So see what's out there the next few weeks, kind of canvas everything as this team continues to play, and then kind of figure out and attack and make a move, from there if it emerges. But right now, I think it's a little too. I don't know if teams are thinking about trades, this early with where things are at. Still a couple months to the trade deadline.
I take away emotion. All right, I'm not looking at this emotionally. Of course you're right. And then work in Draymond. If Draymond's really hurt, Like if this is a thing where he's going to miss multiple games, then a trade's not going to make a difference anyways. If
Right.
we don't have Draymond Green, you don't need to be coughing up future assets to come in sixth in the West anyways.
Right.
Like
Yeah.
so 100% wait, see what his injury is, where the hell this thing goes. And then also what you said about JK. Before we trade him, we might want to know who he is. We might want to get, like I said, maybe he is the second scorer. So objectively, you're right. Subjectively, emotion, Sam, they lose these 2 games to Houston, I'm throwing up the trade flag. I'm going to be losing my shit, man. I'll be there on Thursday. I hate that team. If we get kicked out of the Vegas thing, if we lose that and then go to Houston and watch a loss there, I don't care about any. Trade them all, dude. Like we 100% will need a move from an emotional, ridiculous standpoint. So hopefully we don't find ourselves in those waters, man. It'd be tough.
Yeah. This, look, we'll see how this next stretch goes, right? The Warriors, again, there's a sense of urgency. They know what they need to do. They clean up some things situationally. You take care of the ball. Turnovers have been such a big problem in these losses, unforced turnovers, right? Possession, you got to value every single possession. When you are operating within the margins, as the Warriors are, when you're playing 10-man rotation, 10, 11, 12 guys, when your best players are 36 and 34,
yep.
or your most crucial players are at that stage. There are fine margins that they operate within. They clean some things up within those margins. They might be right back on track. But if things persist this way and the margins and the little things aren't tightened up, then yeah, the urgency is going to definitely increase, and maybe a trade happens earlier than we'll see. All those things are on the table.
There was a moment last night where it looked like JK was going to have an uncontested dunk. I put him back up by 5, maybe 7. It was like 2 minutes left. I mean, there's no time left, and he got blocked from behind. I still have no idea how he got blocked. Like I was watching on TV. I still have no idea what happened in that sequence, how the fuck he missed that. And so, I mean, what we're talking about and what it underlines is these very small, specific moments that, they're like, they go a different way. It's an entirely different conversation. And so, yeah, give them some time. Let's see how this plays out. Sam, missed you. Really loved having you back. I love each one of these episodes. You've given me at least 3 things I'm going to be using later on as my own takes as the day unfolds. And if there's people out there who need far more Sam Gordon in their life, where do they go?
I'm on X by Sam Gordon, and I'm actually on Blue Sky too, right? I haven't gotten to using it yet because it's already,
you and me
committing
both.
to one social media platform is already enough. But I know that there's a large contingent of basketball fans and basketball journalists on Blue Sky. Hopefully I'll get over there and start populating my feed over there. That handle is just regular Sam Gordon with whatever the extension of the Blue Sky app is. And then sfchronicle.com. You can find all my Warriors coverage, all the coverage from my colleagues as well, our columnists, Ron Kroichik, Scott Osler, Ann Killian, so on and so forth. Everybody that helps out covering the Warriors. You can find out all our coverage on sfchronicle.com. And there will be, the schedule doesn't stop. Again, 3 games in 4 days against some teams that are trying to make moves in the Western Conference, the Warriors being one of them, trying to make their own move and end this streak. So it'll be fun to see how they respond and see how things shake out after what happened in Denver.
The Blue Sky thing makes me nervous. I hate starting things over. It took me so long to, it took me so long to get the goddamn Twitter account up and running. And now that there's this new thing, so we signed up for it because you have to. And I'm doing, I don't know if you've done anything. I have not. What do you call it? Blue skying. It's not tweeting. I have not. There hasn't been a single take, like not one.
Yeah, I haven't posted once yet either. No, but hopefully we'll get that straightened out. Even if it's just my articles, and that's it. Something in Avenue where we can get some stuff out there. So, but I'm completely with you. I've had this Twitter account for so long. Like, do I really want to go start over? But
that's right. That's exactly
might have
right.
to. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, true for us as well. If you're looking for us, we're on social media everywhere, including Blue Sky. And if you don't see any takes under it, they're coming soon. I promise. I'm gonna start using that in the immediate future. With that in mind, go Warriors, and hopefully we'll see you real soon.